Hello everybody, welcome to the United Stands. I'm Mark Goldbridge and we've got a bid going in for Benjamin Sesko. You can probably see the smile on my face. You can probably see the soup on my face. I was literally eating tomato soup when this came out. Hopefully it's not on my face, but if it is, who cares? Because I tell you what, Newcastle have got egg on their face. Actually, I've just realised I've probably gone too soon on that one, but it is an Ornstein bomber. It is confirmed by all the journalists. Manchester United have put a bid in. Andrew Giggs says you're full of crap. Well, I tell you what, you're probably a Newcastle fan and you're probably full of crap. In fact, you're probably not full of crap. It's probably coming out your bum because you're shitting yourself. Newcastle in the mud potentially again. But look, let's not gloat. Manchester United, major breaking news in the last few minutes, have made an offer to Leipzig for Sesko of £65.2 million plus 8.7, 73.9 million total. This reflects United's valuation of the 22-year-old, and they believe the striker favours Old Trafford. So what does this actually mean? Because it's a lower bid than that of Newcastle. But it still adds up. It doesn't quite add up to what Newcastle have offered. And remember, Newcastle have offered £69 million plus 7, which takes it up to about 78. We've offered 65 plus another, well, let's round it up. We've offered about 74. So we're about 5 million short. Why would they take a lower offer? We'll talk about that. But the significant thing for me here, and to everybody else who has remained calm on this, is United's game is starting to play out. We're starting to show our cards. And the reality is United will only bid when the player wants to come to United. So unless we've changed policy, and look, anything can happen in football, unless we've changed our policy, this means that Benjamin Sesko wants to join Manchester United. I don't care about Ornstein bombers or here we goes or any Newcastle bid or anything like that. For me, the most significant thing here was going to be, will Manchester United bid? And when they do bid, it means we've been told that he wants to come to us. So that's my logical interpretation of this scenario. Now, we've not had that confirmed by anybody, but the logic is United only bid when players say they want to come to the club. So I'm hugely excited. I'm very, very happy because to me, this reads that those of us who were patient and didn't start saying, we're Craig David walking away. Did he sing that? Or, it's too much money because I didn't figure out what conversion rates are. Those of us who said, just stay in the game, stay calm. Man United have obviously got to play. Here is the play. And I think that when we make a bid, it means the player wants to come to us. And I guarantee you that's going to come out very, very soon. And I guarantee you, as I said this morning, Newcastle are going to be Craig David. They're going to be walking away from the troubles they've had in this transfer window. So get ready for that. Craig, start playing it. I'm walking away. You're going to find a better day. Or in Newcastle's case, you're walking away and you're going to sign Watkins. But good luck to them. They've played their part. And as I said on Friday, you know what? Fair play to Newcastle. They've shown ambition. They've been brave. I don't want to come across as being, empathetic and, arrogant. But Newcastle's ability to bid has probably sped up our bid. I mean, look, this could happen quite quickly because we've gone in with what is a good bid. Like, we're not offering 45 million like we did for Mbermo and waiting 6 weeks. We've gone in with a bid that's very, very close to what Newcastle have been offered. So look, let me just go through some other updates. So Ornstein basically saying that the bid has gone in. It's 65 million plus 8 in add-ons. Remember, Newcastle offered 69 million plus 7 in add-ons. So it's slightly higher, but Man United feel that this reflects what the valuation is. We've also had a few other updates coming in just to add to the mix. Let me give you these. Manchester United reacted by telling Leipzig. I've done that one, haven't we? Look, the big quote here is, and look, this is where I come in. Man United have told Leipzig they will only bid if Sesko decides to come to us. So read between the lines, people. Read between the lines. This is what Ben Jacobs is saying. Newcastle's offer for Sesko is slightly higher with an upfront fee of 70 million. Man United is 75 million euros up front, but Man United believe that Sesko wants to join them. So it's a lower, slightly lower bid, but they believe they've got Sesko. Romano says Man United have sent the official bid to show serious concrete intentions to Leipzig following Newcastle's bid. Sources at Man United believe Sesko is keen on the move and decided to proceed with the official bid. Newcastle and United are waiting for his formal decision. So still, there is this talk that he may not have decided. Get yourself off to the shops. Seriously, I am heading out at about 2:45. So, if anyone wants to, here we go then, that's great. I'll do it live off my phone. Manchester United have made a formal approach. I think this is, I'm just seeing that's Ben Jacobs. Newcastle offer slightly higher. Pletty goal. Man United have submitted, as revealed yesterday. Newcastle have offered a little bit more. A decision is expected soon. So I think, look, let's come back because a lot of you are putting your comments in, as you should. I think the key things to discuss here are what happens next. Why has this happened and what happens next? Remember, if you're watching, please do subscribe to the channel. I'm going to go through some of your comments in a moment. So basically what we've got is, in the last few minutes, all the credible journalists from Ornstein breaking it, Romano, Plettigol, Ben Jacobs, etc., all saying Man United have put a bid in. So we know we've put a bid in. Newcastle have already put bids in as well. So 2 bids have gone in. One is slightly lower than Newcastle's. So why would Man United win? In what scenario in life do you win when you offer less money? Well, when the thing that you're buying wants to join you, effectively. So if Wrexham bid for Sesko more than Man United, he's going to join Man United. Now, Newcastle aren't Wrexham, but it's an example of, if he doesn't want to go to Newcastle, it doesn't really matter what they offer. It's not something that Leipzig can do anything with. So some people online are saying, well, they're clearly going to accept the Newcastle offer and reject United's offer. That doesn't work. If Leipzig accept Newcastle's offer and reject Man United's offer just because it's slightly higher, and Sesko says, I'm not going to Newcastle, Leipzig get nothing. So I would imagine the next update, and it could happen in different order, is that we have bid. Factually, we have bid because we've been told he wants to come to us. That's always been our stance. The reason we haven't bid till today is because we will only bid when he wants to come to us. And I believe that's the case. So I think the next update is going to be Sesko has chosen Manchester United, and that will happen, or Leipzig reject our bid and start negotiating. Those 2 things will probably happen. I don't think Leipzig will take our bid. I think they'll start negotiating with us, but I think Sesko will declare he wants to come to United and Newcastle will back out. That's logically what should happen next. Not really that bothered, and I've never really been that bothered about the price that gets offered by Newcastle, because it's an irrelevance. It doesn't matter if he doesn't want to go there. We're not in a bidding war if he doesn't want to go there. So, and you very rarely get bidding wars in football anyway, because you very rarely get a footballer that goes, I don't mind Newcastle or Manchester or Monaco, anywhere's good. Players always have a preference, so you don't normally get bidding wars. So I don't think we'll end up with that. And I think you've also got to bear in mind that Man United's bid is quite close to Newcastle's bid. And if there is that special relationship where it's a gentleman's agreement that they will take an offer if Sesko says it's a special relationship, that's close enough to Newcastle's to maybe make that happen. So Man United are clearly making an offer and ignoring Newcastle's bid, using it slightly as a guide, but saying we don't actually believe he's worth that much. We believe he's worth this much, and we believe he wants to come to us. So let's negotiate. So I think the next step is going to be Man United negotiating with Leipzig, but Sesko's got to declare it to us. So look, some of us haven't been through the mill the last 24 hours. Some of us, it's 11 o'clock last night, 8 o'clock last night, 10 o'clock this morning, sat here saying, stay calm, stay calm. I trust Man United have got to play. I trust that we're going to get him. And here we are. It looks like that is coming to fruition. And all those people saying it was too much money because they couldn't do a currency converter, of which there are many online, or all those people saying we should walk away. Well, you look a little bit foolish now, because he's going to wear a Man United shirt, and for whatever reason, you've allowed negative thoughts against that player to infiltrate you before he's even signed. He's going to be a Man United player. He's going to be our new striker. He's going to be Amrim's third signing of the summer, and he's going to be our biggest signing of the summer. So we should be getting excited about this. Still a little bit more work to do, of course, but very significant news, and exactly the sort of news I would have wanted today from exactly the sort of journalists you would want. Look, it's not a here we go. It's not a, deal done or anything like that. We're not at that point yet, and we might not be at that point for weeks if Man United and Leipzig have to negotiate for a while. But we've got to be pretty close to what Leipzig want. It's not like Mbeumo, where you offer 45 and end up paying 65 7 weeks later. I think Leipzig will want 69 million. We've offered 65. We're very close to what they want anyway. We're like 4 million away. It shouldn't take that long for us to finalise that deal through negotiations. And I would say, I would imagine Leipzig will say, right, he might want to go to you, but we actually want 69. And don't we all? And Man United might go, well, we've offered 65, we'll give you 67. There might be something like that, but I don't think it's going to take that long because we're so close to the valuation anyway. So this could move really quickly. I was saying this morning that, if we don't want to pay what Newcastle have offered, he might pick us, and then we might be negotiating for ages. And that might be an issue for Sesko, who wants to play football for the start of the season. This deal we're so close to what Newcastle have offered. I can't see why we'd wait 3 weeks to offer another 4 million. I genuinely think that this is a deal that can happen really quickly. I mean, he could be in time for the Arsenal game. So look, really, really positive if we can get this done quickly. And as I said, Newcastle may end up being the losers in this game, and we may end up being the winners. But I wouldn't swap it if that's the case, because Newcastle being in the race have massively sped up the bidding process and the bid that we've put in. So yeah, very, very good. Jamie says, learn a driver. Yeah, but that's just bitterness because you want something else. I mean, I'm not saying you're wrong, Jamie, but there's winners and losers, isn't there? If you didn't want Sesko, what did you want? I mean, what's left in the market? And as I've said many times before, this deal's not done yet anyway, so I'm not going to get into that. But he's not really a learner driver. He's played a lot of Champions League football. All right, he's only 22, but you're not always a learner driver just because you're 22. Obviously, he's going to be a learner driver in the sense that he's not hit his peak and he's never played in the Premier League. But he's got a lot of experience of playing international football and Champions League football. 3 or 4 years, if I'm correct. Let me get your comments on this as well. Lots of people getting involved. Breaking news coming in, Sesko 3 minutes ago, Romano. Okay. Thank you very much for that. I'm a few minutes behind, and I don't know if you've covered this, but Ben Jacobs says that out of the 10 add-ons, 5 are easily achievable, says to be so. Go outside, we'll hear a here we go, says Danny. Sesko and Leipzig have a gentleman's price agreement, so no worries, ours is less, says Sakil. Amount of trolls and rage baiters in the chat is funny, says Sadiq. Look, I don't know what the trolls are here for. I don't know what the rage baiters are here for. Bitterness and jealousy runs rife when you don't get what you want. I understand that. But on this channel specifically, we've always been very respectful of Newcastle, and I understand why they've done it. There has to be a winner and there has to be a loser. And unfortunately, I've always been very confident that we would win this race. It's not our fault that Newcastle have missed out on another deal. But I think they should have took the hint a long time ago that their behaviour was never conducive that they were going to win this race. Sesko refused to make his mind up and they were making public bids. I'd have took the hint that he wanted United. I'd have took the hint last Wednesday or Thursday when David Ornstein said Man United were going in for him. That would have been me as a Newcastle fan, where I would have gone, we're not going to win this race. The minute David Ornstein said last week that Man United were prioritising Sesko and nobody else, I'd have thought, shit, why are Man United getting involved? And look, you can't disrespect Newcastle for having a go, but I think the writing's been on the wall for a while, despite their best efforts. And one thing I would say to Newcastle fans is you can't argue with your club's ambition. It's, you may have been turned down a lot, but Newcastle sponsored by dimmer switchers because they're always turning them down. But the point that was disrespectful. It was banter. It was jokes. But yeah, I don't know. Bigger picture for Newcastle, I'm amazed on how many players you've missed out on. And look, you haven't missed out on Sesko yet. You haven't missed out on Sesko yet. I think you probably have. I'd say I'm 90% sure that we're going to get him now instead of 75%. I mean, this would be the ultimate ball drop from Man United. This would be the ultimate bottle job. We've always said we only bid when players want us. If we bid and we don't get him, then what are we doing? But yeah, look, it's exciting. Of course, it is for United. Let me just have a quick look at this. Ben Jacobs saying that more on Man United's 75 million plus 10 bid for Sesko. Formal offer made this morning following talks with Sesko yesterday. The 75 million euros matches Leipzig's quoted fixed fee. 5 million of the add-ons are easily achievable, leaving Manchester United to consider the bid close to Newcastle's package. Overall number is lower though. Manchester United believe Sesko wants to join and never plan to bid without the player buy-in. Newcastle attempting to agree a deal first with Leipzig and had hoped Manchester United would back off last night. Now both clubs engaged with talks with Leipzig and neither far off their expectations. Newcastle's long-standing fear has been if both clubs offer like for like, Sesko would pick Manchester United. So look, you know, Ben Jacobs still keeping the door open for Newcastle, but as we've always seen, Manchester United appear to have the upper hand on him wanting us. And I call bullshit on, I mean, look at what Sky Sports are saying. Sesko has been open to both projects, but one source maintains he's leaning towards Man United. Have you ever heard such a hypocritical statement? It's like me saying, I quite fancy both of them, but I fancy her more. Forget about it. What are you talking about? I mean, what sort of update is that? Sesko's open to both projects, but he's leaning towards Man United. There is no footballer. There is no footballer in the world of football that sits there and goes, I quite fancy Real Madrid and Barcelona. The same. I like you both the same. You know, you don't. You're always going to prefer one or the other. And obviously, he prefers Manchester United. Now, the interesting thing about what Ben Jacobs is saying there is that Newcastle's 69 million might be more than our 65 million, but our add-ons are more easily achievable. So Newcastle's add-ons might be he's got to win the Golden Boot and Newcastle have got to qualify for the Champions League next season. Man United's add-ons might be he's got to score 20 Premier League goals. So I think we're very, very close. Leipzig might just accept our bid. And if they do, he's going to be holding a Man United shirt up in the next 7 days. How exciting is that? So not only could we get Sesko wants us, we could also get, here we go, which means he's going to be here for the start of the season, which is massively exciting. Obviously, I wouldn't expect him to start against Arsenal because he ain't going to be in time for Fiorentina, but it would still be a big boost to get that striker in so that we can move on to other transfers that still need to be done. But yeah, look, I'll call bullshit on this. I've never believed, and I think even Newcastle fans would agree with this. I have never agreed that Sesko is sat there going, I like both. I like both. You know, I like both. I mean, when in life do you like both? There's a donut. There's a cake. Wow. You know, you pick one, don't you? And we could go a lot worse than that. He's never been sat there going, I don't mind either. There's big differentials between the two. Newcastle offer instant Champions League football and probably a better team at the moment. Manchester United offer status, huge football club, and a project that maybe he thinks is going to come to fruition, and a club that's on his arse that he can be the guy that, you know, is the superstar that gets Man United back on track. That's quite alluring. Why do we keep getting big managers? So I think they're totally different projects as well. So why would you be 50-50 split on it? Sesko's decision will eventually determine, I don't know what that's all about. Yeah. David Ornstein says Leipzig have not replied yet regarding Man United's bid. And that's nothing to do with us. Yeah, okay, let me come back to you lot because we've got all the details then. United's bid's in and we're waiting to see if it gets accepted or not. Let me have a look at what people have got to say. Unmatched pull, says Tauschwid. Thank you very much. Dino says, shitting yourself. Let's go, Sesko. Slow Sports News says, I'm not calm. This guy says to me that Sesko is giving United the green light, and that's why United have put in. And I'm calm now. He says, I'm not calm now. Okay. Not too low for RB to reject it if Sesko chooses us, says George Mitchell. Z3 Music Official says 100%, this is my opinion, solidifies that behind the scenes, Sesko has made his decision known and this will be done quick. They want him in for Arsenal. Rohil says, is 85 million euros the special club value? Says Rohil. Any idea where the funds are coming from? Says Jeffrey. I don't really care. I don't get how we're spending. Look, for me, a new manager of Manchester United should always be getting, you know, £200 million in their first summer. So he's basically getting that pretty much on 3 players, isn't he? We've spent 127 on Cunha and Mbeumo, and this will take it up to 192 on 3 players. At the end of the day, we're saving £5 champers, says Mario Franco. Get on your walk, Mark. Get the deal over the line, says Ryan. Chris says, even if I didn't support Man United and I had 2 offers from United or Newcastle, I'd still be picking Man United because of the history. Thank you, Chris. Amount of trolls and rage baiters. We've had that from Sadiq. Tuesday, says Ridwan. Good one. Luckhurst says, breaking Man United have sacked Ten Hag, says Ibrahim. Why would he want to declare he wants United, says Castle. Big up to Vival if it happens, says Jonathan Reed. And this is a statement signing from Ineos and the trust in the manager. Hope you get a midfielder and a goalkeeper in the winter. Respect. What are you talking about the bloody winter? Georgie, what are you putting your hats and gloves on for? What are you talking about bloody winter? Who's this? Bloody Radcliffe in disguise? We're not bloody waiting till the winter for a midfielder and a goalkeeper. We've got the whole of bloody August. Bloody winter. It's not Christmas, mate. You've bought back the 90% club, says Robert. I didn't want you to highlight that, Robert. You've instantly hit on something I regretted when I said it. As a young player, you want to be somewhere there's a possibility of becoming a star. How many icons came out of Newcastle compared to United? Says Space Oddie. Bavash says the bid is perfect. We shouldn't overpay. Also think the midfielder is a high priority. The second bid seemed very desperate. It happened very quickly after the first and was over the quoted fee, says Darth. Sumran says, I want to cry, Mark. We really need him. I don't know whether he's a Newcastle fan in despair or a Man United fan in ecstasy. Do you rate Sesko, Mark? And will he be good for us? Says Andy. Look, I mean, that's a great question. But what I would say is, without going over the top, because I don't have a here we go yet, I think we are going to get him done. I've remained calm on that. But, you know, things can happen. So let's just be a little bit 10%. 90% sure, but 10%, just a little bit of leeway. I get asked about Sesko quite a lot. What do you rate? What do you think of Sesko? And the honest answer is, I haven't seen loads of him. I've been aware of him for a few years now. I mean, we got linked to him when he was at Salzburg. So a few years ago, I think he was 18. So we all know who Sesko is. But I think Benjamin Sesko is the sort of player that we all know who he is. We all know he's a really talented striker with the potential to be one of the best in Europe. But he's one of those players that most of us actually haven't watched that much of him. He's very much going to be a work in progress, but not to the extent that maybe Rasmus was after 1 year at Atalanta. He does come with pedigree. Arsenal were looking at him. So I think with Sesko, there's a leap into the unknown. I mean, I genuinely would say I'm not actually 100% sure how he's going to work at Man United. I know what his attributes are, but it's very different watching a player for 20 minutes or highlights than actually starting to watch them for 90 minutes every week. So there is a leap into the unknown with Sesko, but that's just my opinion. The reality is, behind Sesko is a raft of scout reports and clubs that have highlighted this player as a potential signing for many years, whether that be Arsenal, Chelsea, Manchester United, Bayern Munich. He has been linked to a lot of big clubs. So there's clearly a very, very exciting talent there. And you would hope that Manchester United have made this decision on the recommendations of people like Favel, and not because we're down to plan D, because we didn't get Gyökeres, Ekitike, Osimhen or Delap. As I said before, you can call him a plan D or a plan E, but I prefer him to plan A anyway. Sesko will probably get United to 5th spot in the table, says DS Ford. We've shown our card 100%. Don't think so, says Aki. We've still got Rasmus. This could be, I mean, he could offer him as part of the deal, I think. This could be a 200 million spend window, and yet we need 2 more players. Can someone please push Anthony, Sancho, Garnacho out now? Says Mojo. This is great. Glory, glory, Man United. Says Tony. Does this mean this is the end of the road for Rasmus? Says Abraham. We'll have to wait and see. I mean, I think we've got to move players out. If Sesko goes to Newcastle and does well, he'll be top 4 for the next 10 years. If he does well at United, he could win the Premier League and the Champions League, says Ryan. Viling says United is getting those bids without any outgoings is an insane pull. We can get a midfielder in Donnarumma with Garnacho exit. Okay, I won't go that far, but let's see. So Rasmus stays then, or will Leipzig go back in? Says Thornstead. There's still a lot of clubs interested in Rasmus. He could still leave. Thank you very much to Tabiso as well. I just want to make sure I catch up on all your super chats. Isn't there a gentleman's agreement for a top club, says Sean? Yes, and as I said, our bid is very close to theirs, so we need to be patient with him. He can't be expected to hit the ground running. We're a tough league. We have to get behind him and show patience. I think this is a very mature comment by Jim Jam Games. We do have to get behind him, and we're going to have to show patience. The reality is some people might disagree with showing patience because they wanted a striker that was ready to hit the ground running, but that's not Sesko's fault. United have stuck with this policy of not buying players over 26, so we've gone with Sesko as the younger. It's not lost on me that, probably start of last week I was sort of 50-50 on Sesko and Watkins, and they offered 2 very different paths. Watkins would have offered experience, short-termism, but Premier League proven. Sesko offers value in the long term, but inexperience in the Premier League. So this is the decision we've made. And yes, we're going to have to be patient because no one else will be. There'll be plenty of other clubs out there wanting it to fail. There'll be plenty of media outlets wanting him to fail. He's not English for a start. So yeah, he's going to come under immense pressure. And as fans, I would hope that we can back him and give him that, as and when he actually is a Man United player, which he isn't now. Just having a look at some more updates coming in here. Is this hotter than the sun? Says Smoggy. Thank you very much. How long do you think it's going to take? Says Ashton. And if the bid was accepted, could he sign on Friday with Carrington opening? Says James. Imagine that. Carrington opens with Sesko. I mean, that technically could happen. That's very quick for a Man United deal, but you know what? Garnacho for Sesko, says Alan Casey. George says, do you think we could swap Rasmus? Winter is coming. We have to sell Anana, says Ibrahim. We have the finance to buy a top midfielder and goalie, yet we chase down a young striker from abroad for another record fee, says Andreas. Congratulations to Chris Vival, says Mr. Polford. Arsenal Gyökeres versus United Sesko, says Bounty Hunter. And I said yesterday he would decide today, says Tom. And Callum says, you called it, Mark. Newcastle can stick the Angel of the North up their arse. I didn't say that. Callum said that. But look, I think that one thing I would say is that we have always taken a very long time when it comes to doing transfer deals, haven't we? Like we've always taken a long time. Even Mbeumo, as we know, very recently took a long time. But those deals have been very much, when you look at Mbeumo and others, Mbeumo wants to join Man United. Man United know that they've got the deal sort of the time to take as long as they want with regards to doing the deal. So I think that when you look at this deal, it can happen quickly because I'm just having a look at a news story here. Sorry, bear with me. This deal can happen quickly because there's another club involved. So all the negotiations, the back and forth, etc., none of that happens because we've got another club that's basically gone in with the offer. So we've got to go close to the offer. So we can't put silly offers in. So I think that people might start saying we've changed our transfer policy because we're moving really, really quick. I would say this is a very, very unique transfer because it's happening quickly because of Newcastle, effectively. So it could be that we announce Sesko on Friday. He could have a medical on Friday. And that sounds incredible when we've only put a bid in on Tuesday. But this isn't a normal transfer window for us because we've got Newcastle in the race that have basically eliminated, in many ways, what normally happens, which is this big negotiation period of 5 to 6 weeks. So I think that's a big thing. What normally happens, which is this. Okay, that was me again. That was me again. I think the deal gets done end of next week, says Zero Blade. Yeah, well, look, it would be great, absolutely great, if we could get him in for the Arsenal game, which is obviously a week on Sunday. I mean, his pre-season is probably not advanced as we would like it to be, but I've just had a message here. Okay, that's good. That's good. Sam C says he's open to coming to Manchester United, and that's without European football. Not Sam C. That's Sesko. What? I'm just getting. I'm on a different. Obviously, I'm not in my normal setup here, so it's a little bit awkward for me. But I'm just getting a few messages I'm going in for here. Who's this from? Seems to me Newcastle played a very good public game, but obviously we're never anywhere near. Well, we've got to show a little bit of caution in the sense that there are still twists and turns that could happen. I mean, Leipzig might come out and reject our bid, which means we've got to bid again. But we've got to be very careful as well that we might be just projecting outcomes that make no sense. I don't think United will have put a bid in blind. I certainly don't think we'll have put a bid in without Sesko wanting to come to us. Look, I think the big thing is I found this deal quite easy to read. Didn't mean I was going to be right, but I think a lot of people were with me on this. When David Ornstein said last week that Man United were going for Sesko, I didn't read that as Man United are going for Sesko. I read that Man United had been told by Sesko that if we get in there, he wants to come to us. So that started off my confidence. I think Newcastle's bids over the weekend were in desperation to try and rush a deal through and price us out. And I think that nobody reacted to that. We didn't pull up. We didn't walk away. Sesko didn't react. And then Man United have gone, you know what? We're going to have to offer something that's close to Newcastle if we want to do the deal. And we've offered it. And now it should get done. Logically, I think Newcastle will walk away. I think they have to walk away because I think if they stay in the race longer, then they're going to just embarrass themselves, really, just waiting around. I think, it's the classic tactic of, damage limitation is to walk away. And I think they've done that before with Ekitike. And I think they'd probably be doing that very, very soon as well. So, yeah, I expect some big updates this afternoon because we really need to know what Leipzig are going to do with these bids. Newcastle walking away will be significant. Somebody did make a good comment. Do you think Sesko needs to say that he wants Manchester United? Well, he's not going to hold a press conference, is he? He won't publicly say, I want to come to Man United. It will come from Romano or Ornstein that Sesko has said that he wants to come to Manchester United. That's what will happen. He's not going to give us a press conference. And Burmo never publicly said he wanted United. Ornstein did. Did you notice that Ornstein Bombers came before you took a walk? Ornstein lost, says Ibrahim. He's following us, but not Newcastle on Instagram. He's followed us on Instagram for a long time, Alex. Possibly Sesko versus Gyökeres first day box office, says Matt. Mark, here we go, Sesko. Let's go, Sesko. Do you think this will help keep Isak at Newcastle, or do you think he's gone either way? Says Mike K. Nah, I think Newcastle have still got options. Ramos, Watkins, Jackson, Wizza. They can still get two of those, and Isak will still go. I think Isak still goes. Tusha says Sesko is good. He can go past the defenders easily, but we need midfielders. Without two genuine high-quality midfielders, we will still finish below 10th, says Tusha. Patrick Lynch says it feels quick. We have been scouting for a while. The season starts soon and we have another team looking to sign him. Just want this done ASAP. Thank you very much, Patrick. How many wins in first 10 games with Sesko, says All Sports Lounge? I mean, that's the sort of hyperbole sensationalist comment I'm not going to answer until we've got him, but I say 10. What about right big RB's sell-on requirements, says Jonas? We don't know about that at the moment. If Sesko joins us, we are beating Arsenal with ease, says Sushanth. These are not my words. United is still very attractive, even with PSR. Imagine what could have been if we had owner who are not con men, says Earthan. Sesko will strive with the 2 number 10s around him, says Kian. How quickly do you think it will take to get someone else, says Lizard Boy. What, a goalkeeper and stuff? We can only do one deal at a time, so the quicker we do this, the quicker we can move on. Wuzzy says, we've got nearly 30,000 people watching, by the way. Make sure you subscribe and smash a like. I hope he does well here, but in general, why do you think Bundesliga attackers do poorly outside of it? And Kunku, Sancho, Jovic, Havertz, Werner. Different league, mate. Kagawa came to United and struggled. I mean, look, Haaland came from the Bundesliga. He didn't struggle. So people try to do this about Gyökeres. Oh, look at Darwin Nunez. But there are players that have come out from the Bundesliga and the Portuguese league that have done very, very well. This is why scouting is really important. And I would say, look, Arsenal were looking at him. Chelsea have looked at him. So it's not like it's it's a niche signing. Newcastle were looking at him. Obviously, they were looking at him. They still are. Kansin says, what's the possibility we go and try and get Belieber and Donnarumma? I would say absolutely no chance on Belieber, because you're basically saying we're going to spend £300 million. We didn't win the Premier League and we didn't play in the Champions League. So we don't have that type of money to spend £300 million. We're going to be very close to 200 if we get this deal over the line. I would imagine Lemens as a cheaper goalkeeper and maybe a cheap midfielder, but I don't even think that's that important. Check Keith's tweet, Mark. Also, why did Florian Plettenberg say Sesko has reached agreement with both, says Luke? Yeah, that doesn't make any sense if he's agreed a deal with both. I genuinely don't understand or believe the logic of being interested in both deals. I really don't. Let's have a quick look here. Let's have a look. So Plettigol is saying that understand Sesko and his camp have reached full verbal agreements with Man United and Newcastle over a long-term contract. Final details were settled yesterday. It now mainly depends on which club also reaches an agreement with Leipzig. Man United are offering 85. I mean, I've never heard such bollocks in all my life. And you know what? If that is true, I have never heard such shit in all of my life. You're telling me a professional footballer has sat there and spoken to both clubs and gone, I like you both, let Leipzig decide. I've never heard such shit in all my life. I've never heard such shite in all of my life. I mean, look, correct me if I'm wrong. Are we to believe that Sesko sat there yesterday going, oh, I like black and white and I like red. Oh, I like Old Trafford and I like St James's Park. Oh, I like Eddie Howe and I like Amrim. Oh, I like Bruno G and I like Bruno F. They're just no. Absolute nonsense. I've never heard such shit in all of my life that a footballer would sit there and go, I like you both. If I wake up tomorrow and Leipzig say Newcastle, I'll be as happy as if they say Manchester United. It's just total shit. As if a player is going to go, you decide, to the club. Never in a million years. No way are we both offering the same wages, the same agent fee as well. So this is, you know what this is? This is PR. This is about, getting the best deal you can get. There is no way a footballer has gone, I like both projects and Leipzig can decide. This is about elongating a story. This is about, eking out a little bit more money here and there. He's made his choice. It's us. It's about Leipzig agreeing our fee. Players will always choose. Always choose. I've never heard of that in my life. And I never expect to hear that in my life, that a footballer would sit there and go, I like you both. Let the selling clubs decide. Imagine Garnacho went, I like Napoli and Chelsea. Man United can decide. That's how preposterous it is. Absolutely preposterous. I mean, look, maybe it's just about being polite. But Simon Stone says Manchester United believe Sesko is keen to join them. Latest offer was not accepted by Leipzig for Newcastle. Ben Jacobs is saying it as well. Sesko has now agreed financial terms with both United and Newcastle. Both clubs confident on reaching an agreement with Leipzig in the coming hours. Man United believe Sesko wants to join them. I mean, this is just strange now. This is really strange. I mean, look, if you can unpack this, fair play, because that doesn't make I mean, I've never heard such nonsense in all my life. I've never heard such shit in all my life. Newcastle fans will agree with me on this. Man United fans will agree with me on this. I mean, would you even want to buy a player that is basically saying, I don't care where I go, let Leipzig decide? Is he a man or a mouse? He's huge. You're telling me he's sat there going like a little kid, I don't mind watch film we watch. You can decide, mummy and daddy. Like, come on. I mean, are we treating football fans that naively now? Just put it out there that he's agreed with both. This to me is a bit concerning because that sort of bullshit, there's got to be an angle. And the only angle I know in transfers is money. And I'm just wondering if this is about, say you like them both and then we'll get more bigger offers. And I don't like the idea of Man United being played here. So I can't really determine what that's all about. It doesn't make any sense. And you know what? On this channel, we'll always call out bullshit. And that just sounds like the biggest load of bullshit. I've never, in my whole life of watching football, so we're talking over 40 years, I've never known a transfer where a player goes, I like you both. Let the selling club decide. Yeah. So I don't believe that story. Don't hold it against Sesko. My belief is he wants us. We won't bid. Man United won't bid on a player that doesn't say they want to come to us. And Man United won't bid on a player that says, I want to come to you and Newcastle. We won't do that. So I think this is all a bit of fantasy, hype, and probably to do with money. I believe he's chosen us. That's why we've bid. And I'll stick with that right the way through. Because if he hasn't, we shouldn't be involved in this deal in the first place. We shouldn't be involved with this wizardry of, I don't know who I want. I mean, the relationship with Leipzig would be ridiculous if he's letting them decide his future. That's I've never known that before. So I don't believe it. I don't believe it. I think Mahesh makes a good point. I think what it means is that he has an outline agreement with Newcastle since United did not bid, but now he would choose us. Newcastle was a backup option. Yeah, I mean, look, I can agree with that. I think if I'm Sesko and Newcastle say, would you accept 200 grand a week on a 5-year deal with these bonuses? And I said, yeah, I like the look of that. And then Man United go, would you accept this? And I go, yes, definitely. And then Newcastle put a bid in, and then Man United put a bid in, and then you're basically waiting to see what Leipzig do. Guarantee you, if Leipzig accept Newcastle's bid and reject ours, he won't sign for Newcastle. I think that's probably what it means. It just means that Newcastle have presented financial terms that he would agree to if he wanted to go there. But I don't think he said, I want to go there. I think it's just the financial packages he likes, but I don't think he wants to go there. Yeah, I really don't. William says, you really live in your own little fantasy world, don't you? Presume you're a bitter Newcastle fan who's about to lose out on him signing for Manchester United. Yeah. See you on the next one, which is going to be Here We Go, Sesko, or Let's Go Sesko to Manchester United. I've got to pop out, so it might happen very, very soon. But if you want to continue the conversation, Terry is live on the Football Terrace talking about it now. I'll speak to you all very soon. Let's go Sesko. Thanks for watching. Make sure you smash a like and subscribe.